Welcome to this episode of Open-SCAD by DIY3DTech.com. This episode, I whipped up a 680ZZ bearing holder thingamajig spool. So there's probably a few of these out on Thingiverse. However, I wanted to kind of specifically create something for the Want-How project I'm doing. So if you follow me over on my DIY3DTech.com channel, one of the things I'm doing is I've readapted the Want-How to print nylon and TPU and other what I'm calling exotic filaments that are outside the normal PLS ABS realm. One of the things, those spools have far smaller holes in them, not holders, but holes in them, and so I've had to adapt the Want-How spool. Now, one of the other pieces, because I really want this to be a precision printer or more precise printers, more likely a better way to put it, I wanted very little drag on the filament material itself. So I wanted a bearing-based solution that rolled on a 1-to-1 ratio with the spool. So when I say the 1-to-1 ratio, because a lot of times, we put the spool on the printer and, you may have like a 60mm opening with a 30mm spool, and it kind of rotates about it, but it kind of goes an oblong way around. And that affects the print a little bit, believe it or not, because just, there's going to be different levels of friction of pulling and things like that. Now, it's not huge, and 9 times out of 10, we really don't see it when we're printing, a low poly Pikachu or something like that. However, if you're going to print a gear or something very precise, which is what I want to do with the Want-How, you want to have a uniform pull of your filament. And that's what I designed this for. Now, again, I don't think there's anything rocket science here. I'm going to put it up on Thingiverse as a customizer so people will be able to create their own. And we'll take a look at it on the bench once we're done here. But I just kind of want to share a couple of little different things, because one of the pieces that I did a little bit differently is over here. You notice I created it as 2 parts. So obviously you double this for your actual spool holder. So I've got a bushing on this side over here, which inserts into the outside of the bearing, and then obviously the bearing inserts into this spool holder. Now, one of the pieces I did do is build in a lip in here for the race of the bearing, because I've actually experimented with this a little bit, and part of the problem I had when inserting the bearing into this housing is on some of the bearings, especially the colored ones. I don't know quite how to explain it. You'll see when we go to the bench. They rub against the inside, and this was being problematic because what was happening is I actually built these things and they didn't turn. So I put the race in here now to catch the bearing, and so the outside of the bearing isn't pressing against this housing. Also, the taper of this, I did some playing with this because I didn't want, it couldn't be too sharp, but it couldn't be not so sharp as far as the taper. Now, this does require supports to print. I don't know if you could do, you might try to get away without supports, by flipping it over, printing it this way. Obviously, you got to flip the other piece around. But anyways, I just printed it with supports and it was okay. So anyways, wanted to kind of share this with you, you guys. So if you want to steal this for another project, hey, go ahead, feel free to borrow it. I've got the code here. Again, nothing too fancy. But if you're thinking about getting into customizers, doing customizers on Thingiverse, this is a good example because it's just kind of plain vanilla, if you will, with all the different settings. And again, you'll be able to go, I'll have the link for it on Thingiverse, so you go take a look how the customizer actually looks versus the way that the code looks. The code will also be out on the site. I'll have a link in the description below to the actual code also on the Open-SCAD site, so if you're interested, you can head over there and get it. And hey, make sure you leave some comments below. But what we'll do, I printed this in ABS on the DaVinci, so I'm not going to have a time lapse. So what we're going to do is just head over to the bench, take a quick look at it, see some overlays of it on the printer, see how it turned out. So let's head over to the bench. Okay, welcome back. So we looked at the Open-SCAD code to create these, and here they are. So I printed them out of ABS. They came out pretty good. I sliced them in ISSL. Highly recommend that as a slicer. The bearings fit in perfectly, fit against the race. We've got our little bushings that fit in here.
Now notice that I also left a little bit of space, probably 2 millimeters. I could have maybe dropped this to 1, but I wanted to leave a little bit of space again so it's not pushing against the bearing. And again, this goes over a 1/4 or about a 6.35 millimeter bolt. So anyways, I'll lay some overlays of how this looks on the printer, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, this is going to be a customizer. I'll have the code down below, or the link down below to it, and the code will be out on the Open-SCAD site, which the link will also be below. So hopefully you found this interesting. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share this, make sure you're a subscriber. I'll spit that out, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.